Welcome back to Cage Rage Podcast, Wage Rage segment here. I'm Miguel Iturrate, and we are on the MMA side, the UFC on ESPN2 at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia this Saturday, March 30th. I'm joined by Devin Miller, our MMA ace, to make picks on the main card fights for this Saturday's UFC. Devin, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Miguel. We got a real good card on this Saturday, and after this we actually got a little break, but for 1 week off, leading up to the big UFC pay-per-view headlined by Max Holloway later at the in early April next month. But we got a really good fight night this weekend.
Absolutely, the main event, lightweights, Justin Gaethje and Edson Barboza. That one, fireworks are expected. But let's start with the main card at the very beginning. In the featherweights, we've got Sheymon Moraes, Sodiq Yusuff. Right now, Yusuff at -175. It means that he's favorite. Moraes, the underdog, at +155. Give us a breakdown of this fight fast.
Well, you got Sheymon coming in. He's 2-1 inside the octagon. Sodiq Yusuff. They're both 25 years old. Yusuff is 1-0 inside the octagon, coming off the Contender Series. And from what I've seen, Yusuff has a little bit more power, a little bit more aggressive. They're both very good fighters. Moraes, obviously from Brazil, he's going to be well versed in his jiu-jitsu. But I'm going to go with Yusuff. We'll speed up this process a little bit. Yusuff, I think, is going to be the favorite in this fight. I think that this is a toss-up fight. It can go either way. Obviously, they're both young, hungry contenders. But I would say don't even worry about betting on this fight. I'm going to go with the favorite, Yusuff for the win.
Okay. And moving up into the light heavyweight division, a lot of people excited on this one. We got Paul Craig coming in as an underdog at +200. He's facing Contender Series upstart Kennedy Nzechukwu at -240. Nzechukwu getting a little bit of attention, a physical specimen, kind of raw. How do you see this one?
Well, I've been literally sitting here. I just watched his Contender Series fights, reviewing them in my head, and I'm having fun saying Nzechukwu. I feel like I need to learn how to say that name, Nzechukwu. But he's going to be our prospect of the week pick. Paul Craig is actually a pretty solid fighter, and he doesn't have a very great UFC record right now, 2-3 inside the octagon. But he's fought guys like Jimmy Crute, who's actually a pretty solid, very young, solid fighter. Khalil Roundtree, who's a very mean guy and doesn't seem like the guy who has a positive personality at all. And Tyson Pedro, who's a tough fighter. And he was in there against Luis Heinrich da Silva, who I always thought was a very underachiever inside the octagon. He's a solid fighter. But I'm going to go with the young upstart, our prospect of the week pick this week, Kennedy Nzechukwu. I hope we all get better at saying that name. But we got a 26-year-old. He actually fought 2 fights on the Contender Series. His first fight, he actually got dropped twice in that fight. Got taken down kind of with ease in that fight, but he came back. He looked a lot better in his second fight, although he fought a shorter, stockier guy and ended up playing the heck. But he looked like he had more of a. The one thing that I've seen with him, this guy's 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. He has a longer reach than John Jones, but it just seems too nice. Not enough power. Doesn't try to hurt. He doesn't commit to his shots enough. I see him as a step behind guys like Dominic Reyes and Johnny Walker, obviously, but it is cool to see new young contenders in a division that, my God, needs them. But so not only am I picking him, and we're gonna do a little video on him as a prospect of the week, but I am pulling for you, Kennedy and Nzechukwu, because we need talent at this weight class, especially at John Jones. Eventually, obviously, we got the idea of it flirted with us today, but it was retracted. But he's going to end up moving to heavyweight, so we're going to need new talent in this division. So I'm pulling for Kennedy to pull this out and to be a new star at this division.
Yeah, I agree with you that there were times where you wanted to see him be more aggressive, and he just kind of seems like the big kid that gets by on just size, and that he's not really. If you can find the meanness, and that's what you kind of hope for, that you can project. If you can get him to really focus and bring that, then he really becomes a dangerous thing. So I think, as a prospect, it's very interesting. But, early in the early going, like you said, he's been dropped and stuff like that. But those are not necessarily bad signs, because at the end of the day, he was dropped, but not stopped. He got up and, finished and managed to fight. And those are all things that, questions that you like to see positive answers to, and we have them already. Again, here on the main card, we get to see a little bit more of them, and in the opponent that they found for him here, Paul Craig, I think you're right. I think if Nzechukwu does take the day off or whatever, Craig's the kind of guy who could give him a bad day. Nzechukwu at -240.
Great way to put it.
And Craig is at +200. Heading into the strawweights, and that means that we're on the ladies' side. We've got Michelle Waterson and Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Kowalkiewicz at -150, Waterson at +130. A tight line, both veteran fighters. Kowalkiewicz coming off a loss. However, she's got a win over Joanne back in her history and a couple of high-level fights here. Meanwhile, Waterson has been a little bit up and down with her UFC career, but she is entering the fight with a win. How do you see this one?
Well, I love both these girls, and you got both of these girls ranked inside the top 10 at women's strawweight. You actually got Michelle Waterson coming in at number 9 and Karolina coming in at number 6. And when we look at this fight, both these girls are primarily stand-up girls, and we like to use the term hot on here at the CRP when we talk about like the lightweight or the welterweight division. We talk about the hottest division. Well, this is the hottest fight, just in a different way. These are beautiful girls. You got the karate hottie Michelle Waterson and Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Kowalkiewicz, a former title contender. Michelle Waterson's had a lot of hype behind her. She's a former Invicta champion. She actually is 4-2 inside the octagon. She's on a 2-fight win streak. They both have wins over Felice Herrig, who is a very strong grappler. And these are primarily striking girls, but if you watch those fights, you can tell how much their grappling has really improved, because they actually were out grappling Felice Herrig, which is actually kind of a surprise, because Felice Herrig is a very strong girl. Karolina, the big thing that is to notice, because this is one of the hardest fights on this card to really pick, and I had to really mold this over a lot as I drove this week, really thinking about who I'm going to pick with this fight, because I like both these girls. Karolina is a slow starter. Michelle tends to be a very fast starter. But at the same time, Karolina gets better as the fight goes on. Michelle tends to fade. So that's something to really think about. So I think that one thing to think here is Michelle will tend, like, for example, Claudia Gadelha submitted Karolina in the first round, and Jessica Andrade, who is getting ready to fight Rose Namajunas for the strawweight title, knocked out Karolina in the first round in Karolina's last fight. Brutal knockout, which Jessica Andrade, pretty much every one of my buddies thinks she's going to beat Rose Namajunas, and thinks that the fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, that was a Joanna's peak. Jessica Andrade is just coming into her peak. But Jessica Andrade is so underrated. Pretty much every one of my buddies that watches the UFC religiously, like I do, think Jessica Andrade is just the female Vanderlei Silva, and is just so underrated. And I kind of agree with him. I don't know if she's going to beat Rose. We'll get to that in a later conversation. But losing to Jessica Andrade is no shame. But keeping that in mind, she is a slow starter. Michelle's a fast starter. So I think earlier in the fight, Michelle's going to have the edge. But like I said, Michelle tends to fade. Karolina gets on stronger. She got even on stronger. She went 5 rounds with Joanna, and she looked pretty good going into it. She even rocked Joanna in the 4th. And that was in Joanna's prime. That was when Joanna was just dominating everybody. She looked almost unbeatable. She even rocked Karolina in the 4th round, if you go back and watch her fight. I think that the team, and this is what really separated this fight for me, the team that Michelle has around her is really bringing out the most in Michelle. Even though Michelle's going to be the smaller fighter, Michelle fought in Invicta down at atomweight, down at 105 pounds. She's a small strawweight. She's not a big. She could never go up and fight at 125. I think that she has taken less damage in her career. I think that she's got a really good team around her. She's got somebody like Holly Holm to train with on a daily basis. She's a very big girl and a very good striker. So I don't think there's anything Karolina's going to throw at her that she has not seen on a daily basis in the gym. And I think that they're going to have her well prepared in the grappling department. I think Michelle is the underdog here if I heard the odds correctly, and I'm calling the dog watch on this fight. I'm calling Michelle Waterson by unanimous decision over Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
And that is a dog pick. She's at plus 130. Let's cruise on up to the featherweight fights, and, that's good information there for everybody watching. Dev's 5-1 last week with his picks, and, the one that we lost was one with a little bit of an asterisk and a story behind it as well. So, but anyway, back to today and this week's fights. We got featherweight, Michael Johnson, Josh Emmett. This one's near pick'em as well. Emmett minus 105, Johnson minus 115. How do you think Johnson's going to do here at featherweight in the long haul?
Well, he's been looking pretty good. He just came off a decision win over Adam Labov. Josh Emmett is coming off a brutal knockout at the hands of Jeremy Stevens. And Josh Emmett is one of those guys that got pushed into the top 10 in the rankings after he beat Ricardo Lamas, when Ricardo Lamas was a top 10 stable for a long time at this division. But the thing that people are forgetting with this stuff, with like people like Ricardo Lamas and stuff, is this division was kind of stalemated for years. You had Jose Aldo ruling it, and you had guys like Frankie Edgar, Chad Mendez, Ricardo Lamas. You had kind of Korean Zombie. You had kind of the same kind of contenders in the top 10 ranks for probably about 3 or 4 years at least, if not longer. And all of a sudden there was this explosion of new talent that came in, led obviously by the featherweight king, Max Holloway. And there was all this new talent, and a big win over Ricardo Lamas was a big win, but now today, that big of a win over Ricardo Lamas is not that big of a win anymore. And that happened very fast because Ricardo Lamas was a top 5 featherweight for a long time. And that's what got Josh Emmett propelled into this division. So that's really his only big win inside the octagon. He's 4-2 inside the octagon, but he also lost to Des Green, not only Jeremy Stevens. And when he got in there with Jeremy Stevens, he was put out in the 2nd round. And he does have a lot of power. But Michael Johnson, when you look at this guy, this is the most frustrating fighter in the UFC, in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is because this is a man who's got a loss to Darren Elkins and Benil Dariush and Reza Madadi. Does anybody know who Reza Madadi is? Do you know who that guy is? I mean, I don't even remember this guy. He lost to Miles Jury.
Reza Madadi, wasn't he the guy that used to come to the weigh-ins with like the short shorts?
I'm not even sure. I don't even really remember the guy. He lost to Paul Sass. He lost to Jonathan Brookins in the Ultimate Fighter finale to lose the Ultimate Fighter. Now keep that in mind, that he lost to those names that I just named. But guess who he has wins against? Dustin Poirier, Edson Barboza, Melvin Gillard, Gleason Tebow, Joe Lozon, Tony freaking Ferguson. He is the single most inconsistent fighter that's ever been in the octagon. Like, he loses random fights, and he's also been in there with Khabib Nurmagomedov, Justin Gaethje, Nate Diaz. This man's been in there with everybody. Now, granted, the vast majority of those fights was at 55. He's cut a lot of weight to try to revitalize his career, but he doesn't look horrible at that weight class. He just doesn't seem like he has as much power. He's going in there against a guy with a lot of power. So I think the experience, the more that he makes this cut, he's not that old. This is such a hard fight, and I listened to several podcasts this week leading up to the weight race with you, Miguel, just to see what other people are thinking, mainly people like Kenny Florian and some of my other, pretty popular betting handicappers and stuff, see what they're thinking. Pretty much everybody's calling Josh Emmett. I'm going the opposite direction. I think Michael Johnson has a lot more experience in his pocket. He's so inconsistent though, which scares me because he's such a good fighter. But I mean, this guy could have been a lightweight champion contender, but I mean, he's beaten Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier, and Edson Barboza, but he's lost to random guys too, Darren Elkins and stuff. So
that's Indiana product, Darren Elkins.
Yeah, which is, he's really like the Rocky of MMA. I've actually met Darren Elkins, but that's a different subject. But I'm going to go with Michael Johnson by decision. I think that he's going to do enough to keep range and to land the better shots. This is a hard pick, but somebody's got to make it. Somebody's got to give Johnson that shout out, that call. I'm going to give Michael Johnson the call, and I think that he'll be ranked after this fight.
No problem, and that's a great thing, Devin. Obviously, marching to the beat of our own drum. Hey, call it like you see it, and we got Michael Johnson and Josh Emmett in the featherweight division. We're going Johnson there. That brings us to the co-feature, and the co-feature comes to us in the middleweight division. I'm not sure the books have this one right. I wonder what you think. We got Jack Hermansson coming in. Hermansson a slight favorite at -125 as he takes on David Branch of the former WSOF champion. He was actually a kingpin at middleweight and at light heavyweight over at the WSOF. Branch at +105 here. I don't know. I'm a Branch fan, except for the UFC never treats these guys right when they come over from another organization with a resume. Branch just 2-2 with the UFC on this run.
Yeah, and that's really, I mean, you might be a little disappointed in me, but I am calling Jack Hermansson. I think Josh Hermansson's on the way up, and David Branch, as much as I respect his resume, he's 37 years old, and he just came off that big loss to Jared Cannonier, which I don't think anybody, including him, could have expected. Jared Cannonier came down from light heavyweight, was an unranked guy, and I think he seemed to underestimate him a little bit, but even in his wins, I'm thinking back to his split decision win over Krzysztof Joko. It was his debut inside the octagon after being the the World Series of Fighting champion. He just didn't look great. Then he fought Luke Rockhold, got finished in the second round, and then Jared Cannonier knocked him out. Jack Hermansson is an aggressive, hungry young fighter in his prime, 30 years old, and he's on quite the win streak. I believe he's won like 4 of his last 5, and they've been against good opponents. The one common opponent they have is Thiago Santos, and Branch actually is the last guy. We talked about Santos winning like 8 out of 9. Well, that one loss was to David Branch, and Hermansson was actually the guy who lost to Santos, so it might seem a little awkward that I'm actually calling Hermansson, but I think this is going to be a breakout performance for Hermansson. I think he'll be ranked after this. He has quite the top game, man, and there's something with David Branch that he just doesn't seem as right as he used to. So I'm gonna go with Hermansson. I just have a gut feeling telling me that Hermansson is the safe pick on this.
And that's what we call on you for, Dev. No problem there. Hermansson -125, Branch +105. We're going Hermansson, the favorite there. And lay out 125 to make $100, so still a tight line at the books. We'll see if that comes in and changes here before the weekend, and we'll review the picks and the odds and stuff after the weigh-ins. But that brings us to the lightweight main event. This is the fight, obviously, that everybody's just dying to see, myself included. You got Edson Barboza favored at -155, taking on Justin Gaethje. Gaethje at +135, and Gaethje is one of those guys. He's kind of like instant fight of the night kind of contender if you get a chance to face him. He has no cares whatsoever. He'll fight anybody. How do you see this one going? He's an underdog.
Well, I'm gonna declare right now that I'm a Justin Gaethje fanboy. But
okay.
just so nobody can get a little uncomfortable with that, I'm also an Edson Barboza fanboy. I love these guys. This is going to be such a fun fight to watch. And Justin Gaethje is so exciting to watch fight because he clocks forward, he keeps that high guard with the shots to the face. He rolls with punches really well. He leg kicks well. Miguel, I swear, every single type of breakdown of this fight that I listened to this week, all it wanted to talk about was, Gaethje doesn't do as good when he gets his legs taken out from him. Edson Barboza is a really good leg kicker. Well, guess what? Edson Barboza might be the best leg kicker in the history of mixed martial arts. Maybe so. But if that's the case, the number 2 guy is probably Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje takes out people's legs with leg kicks. These are 2 really good leg kickers. And they're going to be giving it back to each other. The big separation in this fight that I have seen from their fights is Edson Barboza does not do good with pressure. Edson Barboza does not do good when somebody is pressuring them. Justin Gaethje is all about pressure. Justin Gaethje is going to win this fight. Justin Gaethje is going to push forward. He's going to take what Edson Barboza throws at him. He's not just going to stand in front of Barboza and not be giving stuff back. He's going to be putting stuff on Barboza, and I don't know how people have slept on this fight and how Gaethje's the underdog. This is Gaethje's fight. This is going to be one of Gaethje's big breakout fights. I'm very confident of it. I'm going to stake my reputation on it that Justin Gaethje wins this fight. This is going to be Justin Gaethje pressing forward. He's going to push forward. He is going to end up imposing his will on Edson Barboza in a very exciting fight. I think there's a possibility that he actually drops Barboza and finishes him somewhere between the 3rd and 5th round. In the finish, I'm actually going to call it that I believe that he will finish this fight. And I think it's going to be one of the fights that we're going to be left saying Justin Gaethje is one of the most exciting fighters we've ever seen. And I think that when this is all said and done, I want everybody to say you called it. Justin Gaethje wins this fight by pressuring forward. He'll take some punishment. He always does. He did against everybody else he's ever fought. But he's going to end up breaking Edson Barboza with pressure, with punches, with giving you back everything that Edson gives to him. And Justin Gaethje wins this fight.
And that's a pretty definitive call. I like the call just because, Gaethje does have that dog in him in that he fights hurt. And he is hard to kill. So in other words, even if you have him hurt, he is still a very threatening fighter to have in front of you. Barboza, all the kudos to him. Some unbelievable highlight reel knockouts, and we have to give him credit for is the level of precision that he brings to his striking and stuff like that is a different dimension. So it's like you almost have to be, you have to be careful laying out your own strikes because you're going to get hit with something coming. He's remarkable, but in fights where he's been pressured, like with Khabib and Ferguson and things, he has seemed to become, I don't want to use the word subservient, but it is kind of like, it's like do you take your beating or, Justin Gaethje doesn't just sit around and just take a beating, you know what I mean? He will respond, but there was that thing of like, Barboza's just getting beat up here with Nurmagomedov. He's not getting off at all, that's the frustrating part, and you know that Gaethje isn't going to become that fighter. Gaethje's also going to go at him and has a chance of doing exactly what you did, which was like get broken.
Yeah, I think the way you just described that was like the best I've ever heard it described. That's really what it looks like with Barboza. It's just like, I'll survive this, I'll take it, And the same thing can be said with his fight with Kevin Lee. It's just like he just kind of capitulated and was just subservient to yes, master, you can beat the fuck out of me for 5 rounds, because it was just ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really ugly against Kevin Lee, and he looks really great against guys who will stand in front of him. That is not Justin Gaethje. And I don't know where people are missing this. That's why I'm so confident in staking so much claim on this. And I could end up eating my words. Of course, this is MMA. Anything can happen. I don't see it. Edson Barboza throws a very good left body shot. He throws out good, very telegraphed left hook to the body, which you're an old school boxing fan, Miguel. You know that would never work against a pro. The way Edson Barboza throws that fight with that left body hook would never work against a solid pro boxer. But it looks flashy in MMA against MMA boxers. But he'll throw that left body hook to the liver and throw that outside leg kick, and he'll snap a jab in real lazy, and he'll throw a right leg. But when have we ever seen Edson Barboza knock somebody out with his hands? He just doesn't do it. He's pulled off some nice knockouts, and he'll break people down with kicks, and somebody like Dan Hooker, who's not threatening him with anything, just standing in front of him, just taking shots for round after round, might end up eventually dropping. That is not going to be Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is going to be in his face, nonstop, throwing back at him. He's going to have power. He doesn't give a shit if you hit him. He's going to take some shots. Justin Gaethje is going to win this fight. I'm very confident about it. Put it to the bank. I might even call in the money. Justin Gaethje wins this fight. Justin Gaethje is more is aggressive fighter. He takes the punishment. He gives it. Edson Barboza has been through too many wars. Has taken too much punishment. Justin Gaethje could have easily won that fight with Dustin Poirier. He could have easily won that fight with Edson Barboza with just some simple fight IQ tweaking. Justin Gaethje is an elite lightweight.
Just to clean it up, he was on the heartbreak of beating Eddie Alvarez before he took the loss with Alvarez. But and now with Barboza, you're picking him. That's a strong pick here. And that's the UFC on ESPN2 this Saturday, March 30th at the Wells Fargo Center. I'm Miguel Iturrate and Devin Miller, the CRP's MMA team, taking you through the picks on the main card. We'll see you after the weigh-in.